The morning rush was in full swing. Car horns, coffee cups, and the smell of fresh bagels drifting down Main Street. In the middle of it all, a faded blue sedan pulled into the parking lot of City Hall. The man behind the wheel stepped out, slowly, wearing a worn jacket and shoes that had seen better days. The parking attendant, leaning against his kiosk, barely glanced up before narrowing his eyes. Within minutes, he had his radio in hand, calling for a tow truck. What he didn't know was that the man he was targeting could end his career with a single phone call. City Hall's parking lot was a place of constant motion. Lawyers rushing to court, city workers hauling files, residents lining up to pay bills or attend meetings. Parking spots were precious, and the attendants guarded them like territory. On this particular morning, James Keaton, a retired teacher with a quiet demeanor, arrived for a meeting. His car, though old, was well cared for, the paint dull but the engine steady. He parked in one of the public visitor spots, locked the door, and began walking toward the entrance. From across the lot, the attendant, Carl Benson, watched. To Carl, James didn't look like someone here on official business. The jacket was to warn, the gait to slow. Carl had seen people try to get away with parking without permission before, and he prided himself on catching them. What Carl didn't see was the neatly folded invitation in James's coat pocket. An invitation to meet with the mayor himself. Carl approached the blue sedan, scanning the dashboard for a parking permit. He saw none. His lips curled into a satisfied smirk as he reached for his radio. Without a word to James, he called the towing company, rattling off the make, model, and location. James, halfway to the building, heard the faint static of the radio but didn't think much of it. Inside, his mind was on the upcoming meeting, one he had been waiting for months to secure. The mayor had personally invited him to discuss a new community literacy program, something James had championed for decades. Back in the lot, Carl paced, keeping an eye on the car as if guarding a trophy. When the tow truck arrived, its hydraulic lift groaned under the weight of James's car. Guests and staff passing by paused to watch, some shaking their heads, others curious about the scene. By the time James returned from the front steps to retrieve a folder from his vehicle, he found the tow truck driver tightening the straps. Around his car, confusion washed over his face. Carl, arms crossed, looked at him with the satisfaction of someone doing their job. "You can't park here without a permit," Carl muttered, not realizing he was speaking to someone with more authority in this building than he could imagine. Moments later, a black SUV pulled into the lot, its tinted windows reflecting the morning sun. The driver stepped out and hurried toward James, greeting him warmly. It was the mayor's aide, here to escort him inside. Carl's smirk faltered. The aide glanced at the tow truck driver, then at Carl. "Why is the mayor's guest's car being towed?" The words hit Carl like a cold slap. James, still calm, explained the situation in a few simple sentences. The aide's jaw tightened. He turned to the tow truck driver and ordered the car released immediately, and then told Carl to wait right where he was. Minutes later, the mayor himself appeared in the lot, walking directly toward James, shaking his hand and thanking him for coming. Cameras from a local news crew who were there to cover the meeting caught the exchange. Carl, frozen in place, realized every second of this was being recorded. The mayor turned to Carl, his voice low but firm. "In this city, we don't judge people by their clothes or their car. You'll remember that." The story spread quickly, not just because of the towing incident, but because of who James was. The former teacher had taught hundreds of students over the years, many of whom had gone on to successful careers. His work in literacy had earned him respect from educators and lawmakers alike. Carl faced disciplinary action, and the parking department underwent mandatory sensitivity training. New policies were introduced, ensuring attendants spoke to drivers before making assumptions or calling for a tow. As for James, his meeting with the mayor was a success. The literacy program was approved and funded, set to help thousands of residents. Sometimes, the biggest lessons come in the most public ways. And for Carl, the moment he judged a man by his worn jacket became the day he learned that appearances can be the most misleading thing of all. After all, in a world where you never know who's behind the wheel, kindness costs nothing, but prejudice can cost you everything.